So, this is my exhaust that I made. I made both of them the same way, 16-inch, 1-inch. This is like a 1/4 inch thick plate steel. If it's any thinner, they usually tend to warp and bend and not be solid enough. I've said this a million times on my channel. I love using electrical conduit to make exhausts. I know some people hear that and they go, huh, you know, because this is galvanized. If you weld galvanized, you definitely need to have a mask on, and you should probably weld outside. But it's cheap. It's like, I don't even remember, 10 or 15 bucks for a 10-foot stick of electrical conduit. Makes great pipes. So I want to stick this on, and I want to talk to you about my intake manifold. Now, one of my favorite things to do when I'm modifying intakes and exhausts, especially for Briggs & Stratton flatheads, is I like to use the little socket head cap screws. These have a lot more smaller heads than a traditional hex bolt, and it makes putting together these a lot easier. So this is the kind of energy I'm trying to get after with this thing. I love this look. I love it, I love it. So I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to do a couple different mock-ups of how to have everything fit. So obviously you see the output shaft of this one is right on the frame. That's okay. I might have to do some slicing and dicing. You know, no big deal. So I bought 2 torque converters to put on these guys. Bought these from eBay. I think they were 50 bucks each. So it's hard to beat the price for them. I think the little centrifugal clutches have their use, but in an application like this, torque converters are the only way to go. They have all the low end torque, and once you get wound out, they really pick up speed. For the 50 bucks, even if you're just doing it for one engine, I think they're totally worth the price. So, I think I finally have a plan. So I've chopped the main back of the frame here, down here, a couple other places. So I picked it up and I stretched this out. And I have some bending to do to tweak it to get it square again. But I now have room for, I moved the seat back the whole way so my long ass legs can fit it. And both engines and the torque converters fit back here now, more or less. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount a bearing here. I'm going to have another tube run. I'm going to mount a bearing here, another bearing here. I'm going to run some tubing over here, and the sprocket and the bearing are going to be right on the edge of this shaft here. There's these little metal tabs sitting over here, and then there's these guys up front here. I'm going to remove these, and I'm going to just put some regular tubing in here for strength. So I'm pumped I finally have a plan. I was really thinking about this for a long time. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to pull it off. So I'm excited. Enough of talking, I'm going to start hacking and welding. So I finally broke down and bought myself one of these. Tubing bender. Now, granted, these are only, there's very few applications you can actually use these for. So it's only for Schedule 40 and 80 mild steel pipe. And this is what happened, you know, the type of tubing that this go-kart is made out of, and the stuff that I've been buying, like from Home Depot or Lowe's, is the stuff that you can use for this. So instead of spending 2 hours trying to get those bends back using a torch and a pry bar or something, I can get these angles back in a couple minutes. So. What's up, ladies and gents? She's a cold one today. I think a high of 25. That doesn't matter. Saturdays are for the boys, or this boy anyways, so we're gonna get some work done. So I'm gonna continue mocking up stuff to hold on the torque converters on the back and try to line up that shaft and get everything hooked up. So I got some goodies here. Got a 10 pack of, oh God. So I got a 10 pack of 5/8 ID bearings. Now these are a lot nicer quality than the cheap wheel bearings that you get from the Chinesium wheels from Harbor Freight or whatever you want. And this is a 9-tooth sprocket, 40 chain, 5/8 inside diameter. I still can't freaking believe that the drivers for the torque converters are 3/4 inch shaft, but the output is only 5/8. So I was prepared and I bought a 3/4 inch jack shaft for this thing, but of course, so I had to go back out and buy another shaft. This is the 5/8 shaft. So if you ever plan to do anything like this, just be prepared that this guy has a 5/8 shaft. Here's these cheapo wheel bearings I was talking about. These are not rated for high speed. They're completely unsealed. They'd last like, I don't know, 10 minutes on an application like this. So don't do this. So I treated myself to this tubing bender. Oh, sorry, pipe bender, not a tubing bender. You can only use black iron pipe on this thing. But for the stuff that I'm going to do on this go-kart and in future builds, I thought it'd be a good idea to pick one up. So we're going to give this thing a hot supper and see how good it does. So, moving up in the world a little bit here. Got an extra little support welded on the bottom there with my new, used my new tubing bender. No longer are the engines held on by 2x4s, so they're actually sitting on a piece of metal. The next thing I'm going to be working on is the driven pulleys on the torque converter and mounting up the jack shaft for it. So I got really lucky with my bearings here. I have this 1.5 inch conduit, and look at that. That is a perfect fit. So I'm going to use these for my bearing holders. And after that, I don't know what I'm going to do. Hey everyone. I don't know where we left off last. Between my job and school and doing other stuff and a world pandemic, I don't know the last time I filmed this. And I lost like half of my memory card, which was so frustrating because I did all this work showing how I made all the fabrication for these custom intake manifolds and everything, so on and so forth. But anyhow, here's what I got. This is, I got the jack shaft setup all done. Several bearings, a bunch of collars in between to hold everything in place. Welded on this gusset and this support here. The sprocket goes down, connects the chain to the sprocket on the axle. Last thing I have to do is I want to put an idler sprocket on, because I found out this is the best way to do it. I never cheap out on my idler sprockets anymore. found out the hard way that buying cheap ones never works out. So I just have to find a way to stuff this in here somewhere. And what else do we have to do? So I have to do throttle cables. I got a little gas tank I'm going to put up on the top for right now of the seat, and we should be able to try to drive this thing. Okay, so I got this little chain tensioner thing mounted up here. This is an old rototiller tine. Hollowed out the inside of it so I have adjustment. It's important to keep the chain tight, obviously, or else it's going to fall off. Usually you're able to slide the engine forward and back to adjust for the chain, but since I have the torque converters on, I'm actually using the forward and back motion for the engine to keep the belts aligned correctly. So I had to account for that using this guy. So now that's done, I think I'm going to work on getting the throttle cables hooked up so I can try to see if this engine runs. I had this engine running before, but I have spark, I have compression. I just need to get some fuel to it. So we're going to try to see if we can get this thing running on all 2 cylinders. So looky what I did here. It looks like I didn't do a whole lot, but it took me forever to bolt everything down, get everything lined up, tighten all the collars on the axle, blah blah blah. I have this old gas tank, and I have a mount made down here, so it sits on there like that. I have the knot up here, bolted to the hoop of the seat, so it'll hold it in there like that. So now I just have to pump some fuel lines, and we could do some burnouts, some dual engine burnouts. Well, it'd go right outside, but it's been pouring all day, and I don't want to get the frame rusted up before I try to paint it.